Review time! Yay! Noel and Sam are film students working on their short feature about the monstrous Blackbird, an entity that haunts those who reveal their deepest secrets. But when Noel reveals a deep secret of his own, and Sam is seemingly killed in a train accident following an altercation between the two, Noel comes to discover that the creature they concocted might have chosen him as its first target. Firstly, I feel attacked. The opening scene is a conversation between the protagonists about what makes a true horror. The introspective and learned Sam suggests that it's all in the creep factor, while the meat-headed Nolan suggests the more blood the better. Look, I knew what I was doing when I made Reimagining Security Breach, okay? It's not an indictment on my overall skills as a horror creator, so you can stop with these comments about how I don't understand the essence of horror or how I missed the point of FNAF, because if anyone missed the point here, it's you Secondly, I was really enjoying Blackbird. At first. I liked the dynamic between Noel and Sam. Their banter was legitimately hilarious. I loved the concept and design of the Blackbird. The story looked like it was going to take a dark turn after Sam's apparent death. I was excited to see where it was going. It was about halfway through, however, when I had an intrusive thought. Uh-oh. Please tell me this isn't going to be a retread of 1:35 a.m. It was. That's right, folks, we've got another protagonist is haunted by a silent antagonist and only they can see that plays off paranoia and passive menace and eventually drives the protagonist off the deep end kind of story. In this instance, Noel's secret is out, that he was a merciless bully in high school who excused his actions because of the lulz. And upon Sam's apparent death, the Blackbird shows up to haunt his life and scream in his face when he sleeps. If it sounds like I'm unimpressed, it's because I'm unimpressed. I already read a variant of this storyline in 1:35 a.m. and Dance With Me, and you all already know how I felt about those Fazbear Frights. Can we come up with a name for this trope? How about a condition? Blackbird syndrome. Nice. We've got 3 diagnosed cases so far. The only cure is complete narrative overhaul. Much like Dance With Me, this is ultimately a morality tale, in which the protagonist doesn't show regret for their sins, so they have to go and find the person they wronged and make things right, so that they can throw off the entity that's stalking them. I've seen equally compelling morals in VeggieTales. Also, the ending? Boo! Sam was alive the whole time, the train just clipped him and broke his leg and knocked him into a ditch so he couldn't crawl out, and the police didn't find him at the crime scene at all? Real thorough investigation, boys. Our tax dollars hard at work. Maybe I just don't like happy endings. But I guess after the familiar story before it, I was expecting the ending to have a little more bite, but whatever. I guess not all protagonists can kill themselves out of delusional self-grandeur. But we'll get to that later. 9-year-old Jake is on his last legs, caught in a losing battle with brain cancer. He appreciates the support of his caretaker Margie and his overseas father Evan, but it's nights that he looks forward to, when he gets to talk to the mysterious, ghostly boy named Simon that lives in his cabinet. With Simon's support, Jake fantasizes about the stuff that he wishes he could have done with his days. Rather, what the real Jake could have done. What the hell, man? This one was super good. Like, the emotion was on point, the characters were strong. I wouldn't even call this a horror story. It's more like a straight drama, but it's still one of my favorite Fazbear Frights. Or maybe, Fazbear Feels? Yeah, let's go with that. I've admittedly seen the precocious, soft-spoken, cancer-ridden child character trope many times before, but Jake's imagination and his little linguistic quirks, such as calling his primitive neuroectodermal tumor, or peanut, a pine nut, was made him likable and helped him stand out. I liked the relationship he had with Margie. Margie's a good character herself. I really liked Evan. I mean, just all around solid character drama. But what really makes this story stand out is its strong connections to the Stitchwraith saga. Yeah, this is the same Jake who's in a possession partnership with Andrew, and the Stitchwraith's head is actually, it actually came from Simon. Let me explain. Simon isn't a ghostly boy after all, but rather it's Evan calling from overseas, using a voice modulator. Margie hooks up his voice to a speaker that she hides in the cabinet for Evan to talk to Jake as Simon. And Simon's head came from a life-size doll that Margie had been working on. Every time Jake recounts his stories about what the real Jake did, she marks up the doll to kind of like match the experiences he talks about, and yeah, Fazbear feels. The brief horror element comes from the ending when Jake passes away. Rip. And the cabinet, which had been closed the whole time, has mysteriously opened, and the Simon doll is missing, implying that Jake's spirit latched onto the Simon doll and was allowed to walk free that way, I guess? This is the same cabinet that was featured in an earlier Stitchwraith story and also starred Margie, which I only realized as I was typing up the script for this review. Don't blame me, I'm speed reading through these. Sometimes I miss details. But yeah, very solid story. Definitely top 5 for me. Super well done. Will the next story at least come close to matching its quality? No. For years, Toby has been living in his older brother's shadow, always coming in second place at everything. Sports, video games, their father's love. You name it, he comes up short. So when a new video game arrives at the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza he works at, called a Hide and Seek starring Shadow Bonnie, he is determined to become the best and stay the best. Unable to beat it, however, he takes his anger out on the game. But soon his life turns into a giant hide-and-seek session, with Shadow Bonnie seeming to attach itself to him and follow him wherever he goes. Sound familiar? Nurse, we've got another case of Blackbird syndrome. This time it's Toby's self-inflicted sense of insufficiency that fuels the anger of Shadow Bonnie, or as he's known by his canon name, Wixlax. What the fuck, Scott? And the story goes pretty much as you'd expect. The shadow sticks to him, it follows him around. His physical and mental health suffer. He meets a token girl who tries to offer emotional support. And finally, realizing the error of his ways, he goes back to the scene of the crime to try and rectify things and make everything right. Except he doesn't. Instead of forfeiting the game and giving Shadow Bonnie the W, Toby decides to kill himself. He literally throws himself onto wooden spikes that are in the game and bleeds to death because according to him, that's the only way he can truly beat Shadow Bonnie at his own game. Jesus. What else do I like about this story? I liked the hide and seek game featured in the restaurant. Hell, I'd play that. I liked Reggie too, the kid. He was funny, and it was also interesting that he was the only one who could see Shadow Bonnie attached to Toby. What was up with that? Will we find out? Maybe? I don't know. Otherwise, this story was pretty basic. I appreciated the stronger connection to Five Nights at Freddy's, but I am really starting to grow tired of this story trope. Oh well, I guess when you write 36 of these things, you do eventually start to retread similar concepts. Anyway, the Stitchwraith. Well, I was right in the last episode. Jake and Andrew have this big battle for control over the Stitchwraith because they argue about whether or not to kill Detective Larson, and that results in them throwing themselves into a trash compactor where the Stitchwraith's body is destroyed. And then... you did it, Stitchwraith Saga. I had nothing but good things to say about you. But you finally got to the point where I can throw up my hands and shout, why? So let me get this straight. You take the Stitchwraith, one of the most interesting antagonists in the FNAF series, you literally throw it into a trash compactor, and who just so happens to be waiting in the mess of junk to take control and reform a new body out of the pieces?
I always come back.
You had to do it, didn't you? You just had to make Afton the big bad again because... why?
I always come back.
Doesn't this undead asshole have better things to do than haunting my subpar young adult horror lit? I mean, I don't care if you did turn into a 10-foot-tall trash rabbit. That doesn't mean I want to see you.
You just can't wait for me to die, can you?
What do we even call the 10-foot-tall trash rabbit? Craptrap. There we go. His name is Craptrap. There had better be something really good coming up in the Stitchwraith saga, or I am just gonna lose it. I am so disappointed, honestly. I don't even want to film anymore. See you all next time. Son of a bitch.